The December wind whipped against Martha's coat, but it wasn't nearly as cold as the steel sign bolted to the gate of Sterling Global, service and deliveries only. Martha adjusted her grip on the old, dented thermos. Inside was Richard's favorite pumpkin soup, made from scratch just the way he liked it, heavy on the cream with a pinch of nutmeg. She had woken up at 5 a.m. to prepare it, hoping a hot lunch might remind him of the days before the glass towers and the seven-figure deals. Back then, they shared canned soup in a drafty apartment, dreaming of the day they wouldn't have to count pennies. Now, standing before the monolithic headquarters of Sterling Global in downtown Boston, Martha felt smaller than she ever had in that drafty apartment. She smoothed down her wool coat. It was clean and sensible, bought on sale 3 winters ago, a stark contrast to the sleek Italian suits rushing past her through the revolving doors. She took a breath and stepped toward the main VIP entrance. The glass doors reflected her image, a 42-year-old black woman with worry lines etched around her eyes and hands roughened by years of managing a household. Before she could reach the handle, a heavy hand blocked her path. "Excuse me, ma'am," the security guard said. He didn't look her in the eye. His gaze was fixed on his phone, his tone bored and dismissive. "Deliveries are around the back. Read the sign." Martha straightened her spine, clutching the thermos tighter against her chest like a shield. "I am not a delivery person," she said, her voice soft but firm. "I am here to see Richard Sterling. I am his wife." The guard finally looked up. He scanned her worn coat, her sensible shoes, and the simple scarf wrapped around her neck. A smirk tugged at the corner of his mouth. "Right," he chuckled, shaking his head. "And I'm the President of the United States. Look, lady, we get people trying to sneak in for autographs or handouts all day. But the boss doesn't have a wife who looks like you." He tapped the metal sign on the wall with his knuckle. The sound rang out sharp and hollow. "Service entrance. Don't make me call the cops." Humiliation burned specifically hot in Martha's chest. It wasn't just the rejection. It was the assumption that she could only belong to the service class, never the ownership class. Just as she opened her mouth to argue, the automatic glass doors slid open with a soft hiss. Laughter spilled out first, bright and carefree. Then came Richard. He looked every inch the billionaire CEO, flanked by executives. Clinging to his arm was Emily, young blonde, and glowing in a white cashmere coat that probably cost more than Martha's car. The staff bowed their heads as they passed. "After you, Mrs. Sterling," one of the junior executives said to Emily. Martha froze. The name hit her like a physical blow. Richard stopped mid-laugh. His eyes swept over the sidewalk and landed on Martha. For a heartbeat, time suspended. He saw her standing next to the service and deliveries sign, holding his favorite soup. He saw the guard blocking her way. He saw the devotion in her eyes and the exhaustion in her posture. And then he made his choice. Richard's eyes went cold. He looked from Martha to the sign, and then he turned his back. He placed a protective hand on the small of Emily's back and guided her toward the waiting black limousine. He didn't say a word. He simply acted as if the woman who had built him from nothing didn't exist. Martha stands alone as the limo drives away. She looks at the soup she spent all morning making, walks to the trash can beside the service sign, and drops it in with a loud thud. If you are still watching and you felt the weight of that heartbreaking moment, please comment the number 9 below to let me know you're here with us. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I highly recommend you join the Black King family and hit that bell so you never miss a story. Your support helps us continue creating great content to inform and inspire you every day. Trust me, Martha's journey is just beginning. Now let's continue. The sound of the thermos hitting the bottom of the trash can echoed in Martha's mind all the way to Frank's diner. It was a dull, heavy thud that sounded frighteningly like a door slamming shut on the last 20 years of her life. She pushed open the door to the diner, and the familiar bells jingled above her head. The air inside was thick with the scent of burnt coffee and frying bacon, a smell that felt like a warm hug compared to the sterile chill of the Sterling Global Plaza. She slid into the back booth, the one with the cracked red vinyl seat where she and Richard used to celebrate when he passed his business exams. Back then, she was working double shifts at the hospital laundry to pay his tuition. She remembered rubbing his shoulders while he studied, telling him that one day it would all be worth it. She had invested every drop of her youth into his potential, believing they were building a partnership. Today, she realized she hadn't been a partner. She had been a stepping stone. Frank was already there, nursing a black coffee. At 65, the retired private investigator looked like a worn-out leather jacket, tough, wrinkled, but reliable. He took one look at Martha's face and didn't ask how she was. He just signaled the waitress to bring another mug. "You look like you've seen a ghost, Martha," Frank grumbled, his voice gravelly from years of smoking. "Worse," Martha said, her voice steady despite the trembling of her hands. She pulled her phone out and slid it across the table. On the screen was a blurry photo she had managed to snap as the limo drove away, a profile of the blonde woman laughing. "I need to know who she is, Frank. And I need to know what Richard is hiding. He looked right through me today, like I was waste." Frank sighed, opened his battered laptop, and started typing. For 10 minutes, the only sound was the clicking of keys and the murmur of the diner. Martha watched his face. She saw his eyebrows knit together, then rise in surprise. "Her name is Emily Vance," Frank said finally, turning the screen toward her. 23 years old. Former intern at Sterling Global. But that's not the interesting part. He clicked on a document. "You know the lake house? The one up north you guys supposedly sold 3 years ago to pay off those early investors." "Yes," Martha nodded. "Richard said we had to liquidate it to save the company." "He lied," Frank said bluntly. "The deed was never transferred to an investor. It was transferred last month. Gifted. To Emily Vance." Martha felt the breath leave her lungs. That house was where they had spent their 10th anniversary. "He gave her my house? He's giving her everything, Martha." Frank navigated to a series of bank records he had accessed through back channels. "I tracked the joint savings, the retirement fund, the emergency accounts. They're all empty, drained, funneled into offshore shell companies in the Caymans. If he serves you divorce papers tomorrow, on paper, you're broke. You'll walk away with nothing but debt." Martha stared at the laminate table. The cruelty was precise. Richard hadn't just fallen out of love. He had methodically planned her destruction. He wanted to discard her without it costing him a cent. Anger, hot and sharp, began to replace the sorrow in her chest. Frank hesitated. He closed the laptop halfway, as if he didn't want to show her the last thing he had found. "There's one more thing, Martha. And this doesn't make sense for a man in love." "Show me," she commanded. Frank turned the screen around again. "He's not just leaving you, Martha. He's erasing you financially. If he divorces you now, you get nothing but debt." He paused, tapping a PDF file. "But there's something worse. Look at this insurance policy he took out last week. It's not on you. It's on the girl. $5 million, Martha whispered, reading the payout amount on Emily's life insurance policy. Double indemnity for accidental death. The numbers stared back at her from Frank's laptop screen, cold and absolute. It was a staggering sum, enough to rebuild a collapsing company or secure a life of luxury in a non-extradition country. Frank leaned in, his voice dropping to a gravelly whisper. "I've seen this before, Martha. The Sarah Miller case. Remember Richard's first business partner, James? He didn't just die of a heart attack like the papers said." An hour later, Martha sat in a modest, sun-drenched living room that smelled of lavender and old paper. Dust motes danced in the light filtering through the lace curtains. Across from her sat Sarah Miller, a woman who looked 10 years older than her actual age, her face etched with the kind of grief that never fully heals. "James was healthy as a horse," Sarah said, her hands trembling slightly as she poured tea. "Richard convinced him to take out a key man insurance policy to protect the company. A week later, James went on a solo fishing trip. His boat capsized in calm waters. Richard collected the payout, bought out my shares for pennies, and Sterling Global took off." Sarah looked up, her eyes hard. "He didn't just steal my husband's company, Mrs. Sterling. He stole his life." Martha felt a chill that had nothing to do with the winter air outside. She thought of Emily, young, naive, pregnant, and completely dependent on Richard. "He's doing it again," Martha said, her voice hollow. "But this time it's a girl. She's pregnant. That makes it easier for him," Sarah said bitterly. "A pregnant woman slipping on icy stairs? A tragic fall? It sells itself. The insurance investigators won't look twice if the grieving billionaire husband plays his part well." Martha's phone buzzed on the coffee table. It was Frank. She picked it up and read the text message. Hacked his calendar. Winter getaway at the lake house starts tomorrow night. Weather Service just issued a blizzard warning for the county. The pieces clicked together with terrifying precision. The secluded house. The steep stairs. The blizzard that would delay emergency services and cover any tracks. Richard wasn't taking Emily on a romantic baby moon. He was taking her to a slaughterhouse. Sarah reached across the table and grabbed Martha's hand. Her grip was surprisingly strong. He got away with it once because I was too grief-stricken to ask questions. I let him walk away. She squeezed Martha's hand, her eyes pleading. So, are you going to let him kill the girl who stole your husband? Martha stood up. The hesitation that had plagued her since the morning, the feeling of being small, of being invisible, evaporated. In its place was a cold, steel resolve born of 20 years of managing crises. She didn't steal him, Martha said, her voice dropping an octave. He took her. And I'm not letting another black woman be ignored while a crime happens. I'm going to that house. If you are still watching and you are shocked by Richard's deadly plan, please comment the number 9 below to let me know you're here with us. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I highly recommend you subscribe to the Black King channel and turn on the bell so you don't miss the climax of this story. Your support helps us continue creating great content to inform and inspire you. Now, let's continue into this storm. The blizzard howled around the secluded lake house, burying the driveway in white, but inside, a darker cold was spreading. Martha parked her car a quarter-mile down the road, hidden behind a cluster of pine trees, and trekked through the knee-deep snow. The wind bit at her exposed skin, but she barely felt it. Her focus was entirely on the sprawling timber and glass cabin glowing in the distance. It was the house she had decorated, the house where she had imagined growing old with Richard. Now, it was a stage set for a murder. She reached the back porch, her breath coming in ragged clouds. She didn't bother checking the door handle. She knew Richard would have locked it. Instead, she knelt by a decorative garden gnome near the mudroom entrance and dug into the snow until her fingers brushed against a hollow fake rock. She flipped it over and retrieved the spare key. A grim smile touched her lips. Richard had owned this house for 10 years, but he had never once locked up or unlocked the doors himself. He didn't know this key existed because he never paid attention to the invisible labor that kept his life running smoothly. Martha let herself in quietly through the mudroom. The silence of the house was heavy, masked only by the rattling of the windows against the storm. She shed her heavy coat but kept her boots on, moving silently across the slate floor toward the main living area. From the shadows of the hallway, she saw him. A man dressed entirely in black was kneeling at the top of the grand staircase, the centerpiece of the house, with its polished oak steps and high drop to the marble foyer below. He wasn't cleaning. He was working a wrench around the bolts of the banister, loosening the railing just enough so that it would give way under the weight of a person leaning on it. It was a death trap, elegant and simple. Suddenly, a door clicked open upstairs. "Richard," a soft voice called out. Emily stepped into the hallway, wrapped in a silk robe, her hand resting on the swell of her pregnant belly. She looked sleepy and confused. "Did you get the generator working?" The lights flickered. The man in black froze, melting back into the shadows of the landing. He pocketed the wrench and waited. Emily, assuming the silence meant Richard was downstairs, walked toward the staircase. "Richard?" she called again, reaching out for the banister, the very section the killer had just sabotaged. Martha's heart hammered against her ribs. If Emily put her weight on that rail, she would plummet 20 feet onto the marble. The accidental fall would be complete. Frank had texted earlier to say police were 10 minutes out, but Emily didn't have 10 minutes. She didn't even have 10 seconds. Emily took the first step onto the landing. The banister wobbled imperceptibly. The hitman tensed, ready to give the final shove if gravity didn't do the work. Martha stepped out from the darkness of the mudroom, her voice tearing through the silence like a gunshot. "Stop. Don't touch that railing." The hitman spins around, shocked to see an intruder. He pulls a knife. Martha stands between the killer and the pregnant woman. "You want her? You have to go through me first." The hitman lunged, expecting the older woman to cower, But he didn't know he was attacking a woman who had spent 20 years protecting her family from every threat imaginable. He saw a middle-aged wife in sensible shoes. He didn't see the resolve of a woman who had nothing left to lose. As the knife slashed through the air, Martha didn't retreat. Instead, she reached into her coat pocket and pulled out the small, black canister Frank had pressed into her hand earlier that day. Aim for the eyes, he had told her. She pressed the trigger. A stream of high-grade pepper spray hit the attacker square in the face. He howled, dropping the knife and clutching his eyes as he stumbled back, crashing into a side table. "Emily, run!" Martha shouted, grabbing the frozen girl's arm. Adrenaline surged through Martha's veins, washing away the fear. She dragged a sobbing Emily toward the kitchen, the heart of the house, the place Martha knew best. She shoved Emily into the walk-in pantry, a fortified room with a heavy oak door and an old-fashioned deadbolt. "Lock it from the inside," Martha ordered. "Do not open it until you hear my voice. Do you understand? Trust me." Emily nodded frantically and slammed the door. The lock clicked home just as the hitman, red-faced and cursing, stumbled into the kitchen doorway. He raised a heavy fist to strike Martha, but a sound cut through the chaos outside, the wail of sirens. Blue and red lights flashed against the snow-covered windows. Frank had timed it perfectly. Realizing his exit was closing, the hitman smashed the kitchen window with a chair and vaulted out into the blizzard, disappearing into the night. Moments later, the front door burst open. Richard rushed in, snow swirling around him. He looked frantic, his face a mask of practiced terror. "Emily, my God, has there been an accident? I heard screaming." He stopped dead in the center of the foyer. He looked at the bottom of the stairs, expecting to see a broken body and blood on the marble. There was nothing. He spun around, confusion warring with his panic, and found himself staring not at a corpse, but at his wife. Martha stood in the archway of the living room. Her hair was messy, her breathing hard, but she stood tall. The pantry door creaked open behind her. Emily stepped out, clutching her stomach, her eyes wide with a horrific realization as she looked at the man she thought loved her. "He tried to kill me, Richard," Emily whispered, her voice trembling. "He tampered with the rail. And she saved me." Richard's mouth opened and closed like a fish. "No, baby, that's crazy. Martha is the only reason your plan failed," a gruff voice interrupted. Frank stepped in from the mudroom, his service pistol drawn, followed by two uniformed officers. "Richard Sterling, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder and insurance fraud." As the officers forced Richard's hands behind his back, the handcuffs clicked with a sound of finality. Richard's mask of the concerned husband shattered. His face twisted into a snarl of pure, ugly hatred as he looked at his wife. "You ruined everything," he spat, struggling against the officers. "You're nobody. You're just a maid. Look at you." Martha stepped close to him, her expression calm, stripping him of the power he thought he held over her. "I'm the woman who cleaned up your mess for the last time. Goodbye, Richard." 3 months later, the winter gray had melted into a soft spring green, and the air outside Sterling Global felt different, lighter. Martha stepped out of her sedan, her heels clicking rhythmically against the pavement. She wasn't wearing the heavy wool coat of a worried wife today. Instead, she wore a tailored navy blazer that fit her perfectly, a symbol of the new role she had reluctantly but capably stepped into as the interim head of the board while the legal storm around Richard settled. The plaza, once a place of humiliation, now bustled with employees who stopped to nod respectfully as she passed. She approached the main VIP entrance. The same security guard who had blocked her path in December was standing there. When he saw her approaching, the color drained from his face. He scrambled to press the button for the automatic doors, rushing forward to hold them open himself, his posture rigid with nervous deference. "Mrs. Sterling. I mean, Ms. Williams," he stammered, unable to meet her gaze. "Welcome back. Can I get you anything?" Martha stopped. She didn't look at the grand glass doors or the terrified man. Her eyes drifted to the metal sign bolted to the wall, the one that had declared her unworthy just a season ago. "Service and deliveries only." "Yes, you can do one thing," Martha said calmly, her voice carrying over the morning traffic. She pointed a manicured finger at the sign. Remove that. Today. From now on, every door in this building is open to everyone. Respect isn't reserved for VIPs. It's for everyone. The guard nodded furiously. Yes, ma'am. Right away, ma'am. Later that afternoon, Martha sat on a bench in the city park, watching the sunlight dappling through the new leaves. Emily approached pushing a stroller, looking tired but peaceful. The fear that had defined her eyes in the winter was gone, replaced by the quiet strength of a new mother. She sat beside Martha and gently lifted the sleeping baby from the carrier. She has his eyes, Emily said softly, rocking the infant. But she'll have your heart, I hope. I'm going to tell her who saved us. Every day, Martha took the baby in her arms. The child was warm and heavy, a testament to life continuing despite the darkness. There was no jealousy in Martha's heart, only a profound sense of purpose. Richard had tried to pit them against each other, to use them as disposable pawns in his game of greed. He had failed. You didn't just save us, Martha, Emily added, wiping a stray tear. You saved yourself. Thank you for giving us a future. Martha looked out at the city's skyline. For 20 years, she had defined herself by who she was supporting. Richard's wife, Richard's partner, Richard's shadow. Now, as she held the child she had rescued, she realized she had never needed his light to shine. She had been the source of the warmth all along. She stood up, handing the baby back to Emily with a smile. She had a meeting to run, a foundation to build, and a life to live on her own terms. Martha smiles, walking away into the sunlight. The world tried to tell me I was invisible. I just had to show them they were looking at the wrong things.